The year is 2020. The new COVID-19 virus is dominating the media. CDC is recommending you wear a face mask, social distance, wash your hands. All of a sudden, the news changes, and prisoners are being released from prisons. But isn't it safer for us for them to stay there? Now, this is happening because the prisons are overcrowded, and it's unsafe for them to be there because of how fast the COVID-19 virus moves. According to the American Journal of Public Health, environments of jails and prisons amplify health risks beyond COVID-19. These spaces are often overcrowded, have little ventilation, have little to no access to care. In fact, at the end of 2014, 18 states reported operating at more than 100% capacity, and the nationwide occupancy level stands at 103.9%. Now, why should you care? Well, prison overcrowding can also increase the burden on taxpayers because the government has to pay more for the more prisoners they have, so you have to pay more taxes to the government. Now, through my research as a criminal justice major, I've learned more about the issues of overcrowding and more about the different methods we could use to reduce that. Prison overcrowding is a major issue in today's criminal justice system, and everyone can play a part in supporting policies to bring change to the system. Over the past 30 years, prison populations have increased continually. There are many available options to reduce it, but they're lacking support. First, let's look at the current state of our prisons in the U.S. As seen on the Earn.org article by Julie Samuels, over the past 3 decades, the federal prison population has grown dramatically. In 1980, fewer than 25,000 Americans were incarcerated. Today, that number has increased to 219,000 due to more and longer prison sentences for those who break federal laws, particularly drug offenders. This is what it looks like in some of those institutions. Both the war on crime and the war on drugs have contributed to the increased population. Of course, these drugs are coming in, such as cocaine, even marijuana, just all kinds of things over the borders and overseas. Current prison populations are aging. There's many of them that are over 55, 60, some in their 70s and 80s still. Lengthy sentences and lack of early release and parole have kept these inmates incarcerated. Some states have completely gotten rid of parole boards and parole at all. Reoffending after release increases prison population. Released inmates return to lives of crime due to lack of education and employment opportunities. Now, they may have the option to get their GED, but they don't have as much job training or training in how to create a resume or anything like that. So let's take a look at some of the ways that we can reduce the prison population. Many of you may have seen recently about Tennessee Governor Bill Lee's criminal justice reform bills. One of those is the Alternatives to Incarceration Act. It offers community-based alternatives to incarceration in prisons. Some of this may be rehabilitation programs, drug treatment programs, things like that. The other is the Reentry Success Act. It offers post-release programs to help released inmates re-enter society. Some of these are job search programs, job training, the options of finding housing that would actually be more affordable since it is a lot of times harder for them to find a job. Sentencing reform could also solve the issue of aging inmates. We could give judges more authority to adjust the sentence lengths based on mitigating circumstances instead of the mandatory sentences. So they could look at the age of the inmate or the accused, and if they've had previous convictions, previous drug-related issues, if they've been violent, things like that. As seen on Florida Tech's website, recidivism, which is the act of reoffending, understandably contributes to high imprisonment rates. Rehabilitation programs and drug and alcohol courses are at the forefront to help those needing recovery assistance. New York has found all these types of programs are 15 times more effective than basic imprisonment, and those released commit 2/3 fewer crimes. Many inmates are under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time of the crime, so treating the underlying cause of the crime, being on the drugs, because a lot of times that makes you more willing to commit a crime. Treating that underlying cause could keep them from ever committing another crime. A lot of inmates in there also suffer from mental illness, and all they really need sometimes is medication, therapy programs, and counseling. Now, you may be asking, how can you help solve this issue? Well, let's take a look. Now, prison overcrowding has been a major issue and continues to plague our prison systems today. Criminal justice reform, sentencing reform, and reducing recidivism are only a few of the methods we can use to solve the issue. Reducing prison overcrowding can lessen the burden on governmental funds and possibly reduce taxes paid by you. Now, just think, if you're accused of a crime and convicted, would you rather have an alternative to being incarcerated in an overcrowded prison? Now, you can help by either contacting your local government officials, support their policies. You can also find a rehabilitation program to help fund. One of those I found was the nextdoor.org. Also, the Salvation Army helps with treatment programs as well. Just take a look, and I'm sure you can find something out there.